Three of Mercedes' top personnel, Toto Wolff, Elliott and James Allison, believe the team has settled on a single development path as it attempts to recover from a tough phase. It has now finally figured out what is working for them and how to upgrade the W14 this season to be able to challenge for race wins. Red Bull has won all 12 Grand Prix thus far in F1 2023 and is on a 13-race winning run altogether, whereas Mercedes has won only once in the past year and a half, in the 2022 Sao Paulo Grand Prix, courtesy of George Russell. However, after a learning process through 2022 and into the current campaign, the executives believe Mercedes has now discovered a clear path to pursue. Mercedes made the decision to abandon the zero-pod concept introduced for the start of the ground effect era in 2022 at the 2023 Monaco Grand Prix, instead opting for a side pod design more akin to Red Bull's, a package that they've continued to tweak through the following rounds. Mercedes is battling McLaren, Aston Martin and Ferrari for the best of the rest P2 slot in the Constructors' Championship, a struggle that has so far favoured Mercedes. The Silver Arrows presently hold that position, 51 points ahead of Aston Martin, with 10 races remaining before the season resumes this weekend with the Dutch Grand Prix. Let's have a look at some of the comments made by the Mercedes team to unravel their thoughts on the season, their state of development, and their vision for 2024. First up, we'll dive into Toto Wolff's comments on the ongoing season and what could have gone better. Our season really didn't start well in Bahrain, but I think over the last races we've been able to understand the car better, keep on learning and finding improvements. The race for P2 is tight between Aston Martin, Ferrari, McLaren and us. It's going to be an intense battle to the end of the season. Our objective is always to be fighting for championships, not for second place. But we're racers and we will enjoy the challenge. Our focus is on what we need to be winning races and championships again. One helps the other, so we'll be concentrating on how we can improve our understanding of the car and how we operate as a team in the second half of the season, Toto said. The positives are that we clearly see some development route that functions. We understand where we need to add performance. It's a frustrating process because it takes time to fundamentally change a car when you decide on a different development direction. And it takes a huge amount of work from everyone involved to get the car in a better place, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, he followed up. It's safe to say that Mercedes has finally found their way around the car. It won't be enough to challenge the title this season, but they could surprise us in a couple of races. So when asked what could have gone better and what the future for Mercedes, Toto said the following: "We need to give the drivers a more reliable car and platform when it comes to the balance and feeling. It's not about absolute downforce, but it's for them to know that the car is going to be stable when they turn into the corner. That isn't the case for now. It is a big focus for us, as it will give the drivers more confidence, and with that will come more performance. Although this means that they are still bringing upgrades, the big focus right now is on the next season instead of this one. The sales are set for 2024 now. We still have some updates to come with W14, but I find focus switching to next year good, because there's so much we can optimize on the current car without looking too much into upgrades. Let's see how we can get it into more of a sweet spot while gaining lots of understanding for next year. As the more learnings we can find, the better placed we'll be for 2024 and beyond," Wolff ended with. So, could Mercedes still provide some surprising performances in the remainder of the season? And will they be able to defend their P2 from their rivals? Wolff seems to think so, but the focus will switch to 2024 following the summer break. But this was only CEO Wolff's point of view. The technical view of this season may be even more interesting for us all, as this has been the department that has lacked for the last 18 months. And to bring Mercedes back to the top, we saw James Allison return this season, now working in tandem with Elliott to provide their drivers with the best possible car. So from a technical viewpoint, how would they both summarise the season thus far? James Allison: "We started off with high hopes. Initially, our position relative to the front of the field took some getting used to, but the subsequent reaction by the team has been admirable. Quite early we got a handle on what had gone wrong and have steadily been putting it right since." Elliott: "Last year we made gradual progress throughout the season. We got ourselves into a position where we had some confidence over the winter, hoping to start the season in a better place. To find out we weren't was a kick in the teeth, but it's been good to see the recovery path. If you look where we started and where we are now, compared to Aston and Ferrari, we've made good progress. It's clear to see they're both happy with this season's progress, but what are their thoughts on Mercedes' developments during the season now that they're working together? The development journey hasn't been that different to any other year. trying to add performance to the car with all the tools you have available. Finding more downforce, trying to not make the car heavier, making it handle better. The rewarding thing is, we're not just adding bread and butter performance, we're also collectively assessing what we got wrong with our decisions last year. These were the things we understood within the first few weeks of running the car. Since then, a major focus has been putting them right. I find that quite enjoyable, and I know it's been rewarding for everyone in the technical team, Allison said. Although we made great strides last year, 2023 presented all the teams with a rule change that offered some protection against bouncing. Over the winter, we faced a choice: go aggressive and trade the bouncing protection in the rule change for performance, or take a more cautious route and steer clear of the sort of porpoising that wrecked our season last year. We chose the cautious path, knowing that it would be less painful to correct if we were wrong. The story of our year so far has been mostly about finding out that we had been too cautious and making the changes to correct that. This cautious path has resulted in a huge performance loss for Mercedes from the get-go. This resulted in subpar performances for the Silver Arrows, but race by race they are getting closer to their peak performance. Although they made some mistakes, they remain positive and see it as a learning curve, according to Mike Elliott. We're engineers and are interested in the technology. As Nicky famously said, you learn more when you lose than when you are winning. I feel that it was a big learning journey through last year and into this year. The hope is we've uncovered the learnings we need now, and we can keep developing in one direction. Sitting in my position, I look at things through a slightly wider lens. It's nice to see the learnings. You then illuminate another bit of the path and it gets clearer, Elliott said. And it isn't just about learning new stuff, although that might seem interesting. It's about bringing those learnings to the track and unlocking more performance. Luckily for Mercedes and F1 fans, this is exactly what they did, as they've been able to turn these lessons into performance-enhancing upgrades. Allison has explained where most of the gains have been made and where Mercedes need to improve in the second half of the season. James Allison stated the following: simply putting downforce on the car in the medium to high-speed area of the aero map. That downforce is found closer to the ground than we had developed the car in the first instance. And what are the areas where Mercedes still needs to improve, you might think? Bread and butter downforce is always a good thing. We're also trying to make the car more reassuring for the drivers when they initially turn in. It feels too reactive. And then when they get to the apex, they have the opposite problem, where we want it to bite at the front and it doesn't. It's unstable when you first turn the wheel, and then annoyingly dead when they get to the apex. We want it to be the other way around. That's what we're working on, Allison revealed. Now we know what to expect from Mercedes for the remainder of the season. But what are the technical approaches for Mercedes for the W15? We know Toto said that they've already switched their focus to next year. Our aim is to win the championship. Unfortunately, we're not in that position this year, but we want to be next year. We've got to get that balance right between getting all the learnings we can with our current car and trying to put most of our effort into next year's car, Mike Elliott said. James Allison could reveal more about their approach and said most of the work right now is focused on creating a race-winning W15. At this stage of the year, the wind tunnel is heavily focused on 2024. Large chunks of the drawing office, vehicle dynamics, manufacturing for long lead time production items are starting to gather their skirts. From the summer break onwards, next year's car is where the largest call is answered. But that also gives opportunities for the W14 too, Allison said. Mercedes seem to have finally figured out where to go with the W14 for the remainder of the year, possibly even challenging Red Bull for race wins. This sets them up nicely to create a race-winning car for the start of the next season. At least, that's what they're saying. What are your thoughts on Mercedes' words? Will they be able to challenge Red Bull in the remainder of the season? And what about next year? Will they start the season with a good race car? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below.